Hey, what's going on, traders? I thought I'd spend a little bit of time and do a quick video on how I approach my trades, whether it's an intraday scalp and parabolic move, or in this case, on BKKT. This is a position that I've been building for hopefully a multi-day unwind. So to start off, what I always do is take a look at a higher time frame, the daily, and what I'm basically looking for, what are areas on the chart that are going to potentially act as resistance. So here we are. This is obviously a weak stock after an opening. It's been on a multi-month fade, and then if we scroll in, it looks like we found this base, and then volume came in, and now there's this upward push over the last week or so. So if I look kind of immediately to the left, some of the areas that I see that it looks like there's an open gap that is a potential issue. There's certainly some areas here that are going to be an issue to get through. But a key thing is that I'm noticing is it's dropping, it's basing, and it continues to drop. And it's this area right here. When you see tight consolidation like this and then a move away from that, that creates that supply zone. Right? These are areas where people that were shorting are unfilled transactions, and so there's a good chance it's going to see some resistance. And so we mark off that area, again, a tight consolidation area. I'll use the candle right before. And you can tell that price broke heavily from it, and you're starting to see it's done on an increase in volume. That's kind of important. So as I'm watching this area and prices, tested and failed, that's good if I'm looking to short. Again, it's coming into that liquidity and currently failing. So that is a key area. So now if we drill down into an even tighter time frame, let's go to the 60-minute. We can see that time frame is, again, it's basically been a double top. And so what I'm looking for is for my entry. So what I imagine the way that it's working is that there's a bunch of stop orders here. So they're hunting that liquidity, filling the position, and then that should unwind and rotate back down to find and go after some of the buying support. So let's do that part of it. So again, now we're looking at the demand. Where were buyers activating and participating in the market in order to move this up? So if we look kind of immediately, we certainly see that price here dropped, tested this area, which is in this $7 area, rotated up, dropped, rotated up. So certainly this $7 7 to 675. I'm sorry. 7 to 675 is one area. Obviously, this price here and this price action here is going to be one. Again, price was basing and expanded and rotated up to the next level. Same down here. Right here's a double top over multiple days. So this is also going to be an area that there are pockets of buyers that liquidity on the short side is going to be hunting. It works both ways. So these are areas that I'm kind of looking at, and there's obviously some buying tails here. This might be an interesting one as well to kind of take a look at. So now we're at the intraday. Let's move down to actually the 1-minute chart, and this is how I was kind of reading it as it was happening. So the levels here is this one is roughly that high of day. Okay, so now let me turn on my trades, and I'll show you how I was approaching the setup of this. So if I look at my trades, you'll see what happened here is price hit this 850s level, and then we had a high a day breakout. So that's what I expect. This is that liquidity that they're going to build the short position in. So as it broke, you can kind of see what I started to see is I started to see this shelf here. This is that high a day shelf that I'd imagine it's going to at least test. There is room up to 9, which I expect, but I start to build my position over the high of day, and I did it in this roughly, think of this as 1/5 of my intended size. And so I'm in about half of my position because I still feel like there might be room and I might want to add, but I want to examine before I go all in. So price does exactly that. It moves up and it kind of tests this $9 a whole dollar number, which is psychological levels that people look at. And so now if you think about this, this really isn't the shelf. It's really, again, if we break it over the high day shelf specifically, it's this whole level here. and it's this level. Once it broke that shelf, this is the zone, the high day clear out that we're looking at. So if we think about the price action and the patterns that it's creating, as it pushed up, kind of based in here, absorbed some liquidity, it did one more leg up here, tested the 9, it dropped down, bounced off VWAP and came back up. And if you're familiar, you might be seeing it. It looks like the beginning or the tail end of the creation of the head and shoulders. There's a shoulder here. There's an extension into a higher pivot and down to create the head. And then there is a new right shoulder being created. And so as price was continuing to rotate here, I added. And now I'm in with a very defined risk. Now I know that I'm in, I'm now risking this level. This should hold if my thesis is right and unwind is coming. So now that I've added at that 870s level, again, I have my stop up here. And then as it was still building that shoulder, as soon as it broke that shoulder and it did it on some volume, I added to my final and full position now. And so now the beauty of this is I can now lower my stops, because again, my thesis is if this is a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder, it shouldn't break the shoulder. Buyers should maintain and respect that as a lower pivot high. And so now I'm in full size. And so now what happens is price rotates down. It breaks this key level, right? That was the high of day. And I wanted to see that broke on volume. That's all confirmation. And so now we start the unwind phase. Where are we going to rotate down? Where are those buyers going to potentially defend? And I want to sell into that. And so if you look over here again to the left, you saw kind of some consolidation and price broke from there. So these are pockets of buyers, the last minute buyers that are probably hunting this. And so as we come into that level, I start to peel off, and these are 5% of my position. So I'll peel off 5 here, a few minutes later, some here. And then I sold several as we came down into that important $8 level, right? A bunch of, you'd see these wicks here. That means people are buying and supporting it. I don't know if it's going to extend down or if this is that support level of demand that they're going to leg up again. So you want to pay yourself, especially in this market, pay yourself a little bit early. But now if we take a look at, if I add on, those are my trades. Let me show you my active orders. Okay, so now that I've started to profit and pay myself, what I've done is I've lowered down my stop. And so my average, I think it's 866, I believe. And so now here's a bunch of overhead supply. It should not break through that. So that's why I'm trailing my stop above those sellers. And then if we go back out to a higher time frame, again, oh, there we go. This is a nice push down. I am now, again, all I'm doing is looking, and these are the lines that I drew before. I'm looking to put my limits in front of or near those buyers to maximize as much as I can. So I would imagine here, there's, today maybe there's going to be a $7 test. Now that's not going to be a straight drop. Obviously, it's going to rotate around, and it could come back and break me out at something out of break even at any time. I don't know. But the idea is I have limit targets that I'm looking and willing to hold in front of each of these defined areas of demand they've been untested. And so it might take several days, if at all, but at least that's how I approach it. And I will adjust if I notice something happening in the market. But hopefully that's a good sense of taking a look at the daily time frame to find areas of upwards resistance, building positions into that, and then willingness to add if you see certain chart formations that are giving you confirmation that you want to build. And then again, finding those pockets of buyers, which is demand levels, and putting your orders in front of those as much as possible. That way you maximize the move and being able to sell into where price should be rotating down to. So I hope that was helpful.